Good afternoon, everyone. We are so pleased to see all of you here this afternoon and to formally welcome and give the objectives of this meeting this afternoon. We are calling on Undersecretary Astir Panadero.
Magandang hapon, good afternoon to everyone. First of all, thank you for coming to this roundtable discussion, and thank you also to the resource person for giving time to this. As we all know, PPP is an area that is increasingly being utilized by LGUs to implement their development programs. There are so many major capital investment requirements that the LGUs have to make. But if we just wait on the availability of the 20% development fund, that will probably take time to happen. Our local governments, as we all know again, has a 3-year term. And everyone wants to deliver results immediately. That's the good side to it. At any rate, moving forward on PPP, however, requires really a sound legal framework, a sound set of procedures, as well as I would say, a very effective project management or PPP project management set up to make sure that things are moving the way they should. Where we are now is that some of our local governments are embarking on this already, but it requires really a more coherent set of guidelines and of say tools and probably a support system. When I say support system, it's something like a dial a friend mechanism that when you get into trouble, you know exactly who to call. Because I think we don't know all the questions that we will be encountering. They are not aware of probably all the questions that will come their way, and we just have to evolve the answers as we move on. So this is the context of why LGSP is going into this as well. In the sense that in the LGSP-LED areas, there are a lot of investments that may have to be pursued under a PPP setup. But at the same time, in crafting all this set of interventions, we have to consider where we are now insofar as the PPP effort is concerned. The national government has declared this as another mode of executing some of our projects at the national level. Also for local governments to explore this. And in fact, they did. They are exploring this. And probably this is a good opportunity to take stock of where we are, as well as examine some of these experiences, look at the existing guidelines that have been evolved, and see how this can all be further refined, made more responsive to the requirements of local government. Again, with the end in view of helping and facilitating execution of major capital projects of the local government. So it is in that context, ladies and gentlemen, that we're convening this, I don't know what to call this, a forum, a square table, some would call conversations, to figure out what sort of additional inputs we can provide in the crafting of these policies and procedures. And again, we thank you from the local government, from the private sector, from the academy, and from our colleagues from the national agencies and our international development partners. So we all look forward to a very productive discussion, and again, thank you to His Excellency, the well-packaged Al-Agra. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yusek. And well, actually, the institutions and the participants who are here this afternoon have been carefully selected. Why? Because we planned this to be a modified round table. So it's a square table. But anyway, as in round tables, we have, of course, an expert, no? A PPP certified PPP specialist who will be our main resource person. But as I said, your institutions and yourselves have been carefully selected because we know that you can contribute to the conversation around public-private partnership. And although the resource person, the views and the advocacies of the resource persons, his expertise are very important, equally important are your own views that we hope you will share with us this afternoon. Because I know that either you have the expertise, your institutions have the mandate, or you have the experience, no? Because we have LGUs here, the experience of implementing public-private partnership. And those experiences, the lessons that you have learned, maybe the problems that you encountered, are all very valuable for all of us this afternoon. So I don't want to miss anyone. So may I ask you to just quickly introduce yourselves and say what your role is in PPP, either your institutions or you personally. So shall we start with?
Hello everyone. I am Horishita Takedori from the intern from METI, Japan, from METI. I work in the researching company, it's a private company in Japan, and I work in DOY and domestic marketing department. So it is very glad for me to attend here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, I'm Mary Ann Reyes. I'm in the Domestic Marketing Department of the Board of Investments. Why I am here, my involvement in PPE, because we're planning to have an in the Smart Philippines to run an event. And one of the sectors we would like to promote in the event is actually PPP projects. That's why I'm here.
I'm Mary Lee. I'm with the Board of Investments. I'm with the Infrastructure and Services Department. And one of the projects we're handling is also, under the projects we're handling is also under PPP.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Attorney Clarkus from Board of Investments, Legal Services Department. I'm here to assist and be familiar with the legal framework of the business.
Hello, my name is Marian Villanueva and I'm with LGSP-LED.
Good afternoon, I'm Gladys Celosa from the Ateneo School of Government. I'm also representing Affiliated Network for Social Accountability East Asia and Pacific. I'm here because we're interested in knowing how and where can CSO participate in the PPP and
Good afternoon, my name is Madel Go. I'm a member of the PPP team of the ILG under Yusek Panadero, and we coordinate this meeting.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Veronica. I'm from the Legal Service of the Philippines. I will be working with Yusek Panadero soon. My role in PPP is we want to understand from the city's perspective. There's a misnomer that since you have more money, but really there's more demands for better services. So it's very good if you can understand the framework and how to move forward.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Rosana Bautista from the Bureau of Local Government Development. Well, actually, hindi pa siya napumisa, but I think this will be very vital to us because in the Bureau, we're also trying to crop up guidelines of policies that would guide the local governments on the roles on PPP.
Good afternoon. I'm Bel Castro from the DILG, Bureau of Local Government Development. Member also of the BP Code team.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Mejia from LGA. Our role, maybe we could help in the area of capacity building.
I'm Butch Peñalosa. I'm the City Planning Development Coordinator of Iloilo City. At the same time, the Executive Director of an alliance called the Metro Iloilo Viparas Economic Development Council. I'm a gate crosser this afternoon, but a very excited one. You see, we have implemented a PPP project in Iloilo. We just bid it out, and notice to proceed and award was already issued to a bidder after a competitive challenge. And there's another one project coming up, and it has gone under a second round of calls for bids, and this one is taking on a competitive bidding route. So I guess my interest here is to see for myself some more of the government's issuances and some recommendations that will perhaps maybe assure me that what we're doing is okay.
I'm Pijong Damaso. I'm with CBIA as a consultant. And our group was the one that put together the PPP for Iloilo. And we're also interested to see how this thing will move, because on CBIA side, we also have a set of guidelines of PPP, which is more universal. It's a PPP guideline set for Asia, so it's more generalized.
Good afternoon. I'm Attorney Cyril Casey Blanco from the ILG Region 8. I'm the legal officer at the same time the current regional accountant. To tell you the truth, I was surprised that my name was included in those persons that were invited to attend this particular forum. But I guess it was through Attorney Eve Hayes, because I think last week, ma'am, I attended the PPP orientation workshop for Ormoc City. So probably because I was having a lot of questions, I was making a lot of comments as a participant. So probably this is the result. But personally, I do appreciate attending activities like this for the reason that it is also an eye-opener for me, and at the same time, hopefully it could also expand my knowledge on the PPP, and considering also the role of the ILG in relation to the LGUs. Through this, we could provide a more credible technical assistance to those LGUs who want to know more and to seek assistance from us regarding the PPP. Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Rose. I'm from Legal Service representing Director Duque. I'm here to assist, be knowledgeable, and to help in crafting the PP code in terms of legal aspect.
Good afternoon. I'm Angelica Sanchez from the League of Provinces of the Philippines. The interest of the League here is because we are thinking of including a module on PPP during our NEO sometime in June next year. And then after the NEO, we also intend to bring it out to the whole General Assembly.
Good afternoon. I'm Johnny Ramos from the Philippine Agricultural Development and Commercial Corporation, the agribusiness investments arm of the Department of Agriculture. I believe I am invited here, being also the PPP focal person of the corporation, and that I believe this will enrich our knowledge and skills, especially that PADCC has just received technical assistance from World Bank through the USAID Trust Fund towards developing the PPP framework for agriculture to be implemented by LGUs. So I believe this will be a very enriching experience for our
Good afternoon. I'm Christina now from Daneda. We're in the infrastructure staff, and we undertake the evaluation of project proposals. They go through us from either the LGUs or the other implementing agencies. And this we present to the ICC.
Hi, I'm Jenny from the infrastructure staff. We are involved in policy formulation and project evaluation of PPP projects and programs.
Gilbert P. Aquina, also from the NEDA infrastructure staff.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Attorney Pierre Sapain. I'm from the NEDA legal staff. I am here in lieu of our Director, Josephine Reyes. And essentially, the NEDA legal staff lends legal support to all the sectoral staffs in the NEDA.
Good afternoon, I'm Troy Daba of the League of Municipalities of the Philippines. I am here to take note on how to implement the PPP projects and be knowledgeable also for implementing its policies and thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jovi. I'm from the Invest Project of the USA. I'm just staying here because, Mom, I have not read the materials. I will listen first. Anyway, one of the focus of our project is to help cities enhance their competitiveness and by basically improving their investment environment, and part of which, one of the approaches that we're trying to hopefully we will advocate to the cities is PPP, the PPP approach. So we're also very interested in this topic. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Miss Pablo from the Asian Institute of Management. I came here with my Executive Director, Professor Ron Mendoza. We are invited, I think, to see the economic side of this project, and we also have some projects with the PPP. Thank you.
I'm David Villeneuve with the Cities Development Initiative for Asia. We're working with ELO. ELO is one of approximately 50 cities across Asia. We're helping to use mechanisms and approaches to link cities to finance of their urban infrastructure. And we're also a partner with DILG, institutionalizing some approaches, mechanism, and capacity building in this same field.
Good afternoon, I'm Chris Fernesta from PCCI. Our mandate really is to work with government in helping promote trade investments in the country, and hopefully these presentations could help us better define our role in this partnership.
Good afternoon, Attorney John Cristal here, Provincial Planning and Development Coordinator of Bohol. I'm honored to be one of the carefully selected invitees to this roundtable discussion. I'm imagining, be careful about inviting that guy. Anyway, we in the province of Bohol have had some experience in implementing PPP before we had a PPP code, which turned out to be a tension-laden process. It cost the governor his bid for re-election back in 2001. We are now in the process of finally adopting a PPP code for the province with the assistance of Attorney Agra under LGSP-LED.
Good afternoon, Ron Mendoza from AIM Policy Center. I teach public finance at AIM, and I also do research on public-private partnerships in collaboration with Phil Torio, actually. And we also do research on economic competitiveness in cities, so we're very interested in how PPPs are going to pan out for our different cities in the country, particularly as it contributes to inclusive growth and the fact that it's not just the urban centers in the north that develop.
Hello everyone. So I'm Eve Hiss. I'm a consultant of the Local Governance Support Program for Local Economic Development, or LGSP-LED. I have been with the program for 3 years. So I'm back for this engagement. Well, like I said, and I think that round of introduction has proven that we really have, a rich resource around us. And so, while Attorney Agra will be our main resource person, and after this, we will call on him to make his presentation. During the open forum or the discussion or the conversation, questions may be answered by Attorney Agra, but it may also be answered by us, by the by the participants. So it's going to be a freewheeling discussion, and there will be, you know, we hope that everyone will be open to ideas which may not be in agreement with their own, but you know, always with due respect to the ideas and advocacies of others. And so without further ado, considering that we are pressed for time, let us now listen to Attorney Al Agra.
Good Friday afternoon. Let me just pick up from what Attorney Eve said. I'm just one of the resource persons. I'm here to present my study, and I'm also here to learn and to listen. So again, let me just first thank LGSP-LED for believing in me and allowing me to pursue my PPP studies. Before anything else, let us try to venture into a guess. If you think if all the countries in the world will conduct a survey in terms of existing PPP frameworks or local governments, in terms of having a framework, what is your sense? Will we rank high in this survey, somewhere in the middle, or rank low? Again, let me qualify the survey question to PPP, a framework for PPP for local governments. Not necessarily PPP projects for local governments. Do you think you will rank high? Rank low? Rank somewhere in the middle? Low. Rank low? High? Low? No? Ganun kayo kabilib sa Pilipinas? You know what? From my own experience, and I recently came from Virginia to give a talk on PPPs and LGUs, we might even rank number 1. And I'd like to substantiate this with a survey, with a formal survey. Because when we were doing a ranking from all the participants, and obviously the participants just came from 15 countries, from Europe, from South Africa, from Asia, we really ranked high in terms of having a framework. Because of the initiative of some of our local governments, our leagues, DILG, and the funding agencies, and CDIA and REIT, etc. We will rank at very high, if not number 1. And I think that is something to be proud of. I'm very proud of that, coming from this part of the world, from our part of the world. So, I don't know, maybe we can fund that survey. It would be nice to have a survey where the Philippines will rank number 1. Okay? So that's my first statement. Before anything else, let me break down the title. Because as I was listening to, in effect, your expectations, some of your expectations will not be squarely answered in this forum. Why? Because of the title. 1, the title starts with it's a proposed document. Therefore, it is nothing final. Al Agra is proposing this to the body, and at some point, hopefully, the body will come up with its own version. And at the end of the day, local governments will come up with their own version, unique to their own specific areas. So this is a proposal. Okay? Second, this is a proposal about public-private partnerships. So you are in the right room. Okay? This is a code. What I'm proposing is not a manual. Although there's a manual in one of my submissions. I'm not proposing a set of guidelines or rule. What I'm proposing is a code, an ordinance. Again, that is my proposal. The second line limits my work. It limits my work to contract management. For some of you, I have developed another PPP code, and which we're going to give out copies to everyone. The PPP code, in effect, the framework can consist of 2 things. The first would be how to select the private sector partner up to the time the award is made. And therefore, in that framework, that will cover why you will enter into a PPP, the drivers for a PPP, the appropriate modalities for a PPP, what are the processes in selecting a private sector partner. That is covered in another framework, in what I call my PPP Code 1, proposed PPP Code 1. So today we will not be making a distinction between BOT and joint ventures and the other modes. That is not part of the homework. Otherwise, we should have taken one day. What the focus of this roundtable discussion is, would be a discussion of a framework, a proposed framework, post-award. Meaning, an award has already been made, a contract has already been signed between the private sector and the local government, and what do you do from there on? What do you do for the next 25 years, 7 years if it's a short-term contract? What do you do if the contract is for 50 years? This is the proposal. How does one regulate and manage an already existing executed PPP contract? So that we're on the same page, before I start my presentation, that will be my discussion. A choice has already been made. What is the PPP modality? The private sector has already been chosen. Now, the contract has been signed. A notice of award has already been issued to the private sector partner. What lies next? This is the context of my proposal. And the last line would be, this is a contract management proposal framework, not for the national government, but for local governments. Let me explain to you my passion. I've been a local government professor for the past 19 years, and now a PPP advocate. So I'm now able to marry these two sets of knowledge. And thank you again to LGSP for giving me this opportunity to have this marriage come to reality. Okay? So ako po si Alberto C. Agra. Sabi nga po ni Yusek, I'm a friend. I'm a collaborator. I'm not here as your competitor. And thank you. As part of my commitment and obligations to LGSP-LED, there are three there are three submissions, and I'd like to promise everyone that you will get the latest versions of these three submissions via email. We were not able to produce hard copies of all these via Culpa because I only gave the latest version after I came from Laos the other day. So what you have, what will be emailed to you will be the latest versions. There are three documents that will be given to you. One, the proposed code itself. Just to distinguish this from Al Agra's earlier code, this is PPP Code 2. Second one is a template of a PPP contract management manual. Fill in the blanks template. Again, to flesh out the guidelines and the rules mentioned in the proposed PPP Code 2. And the third, every provision of the PPP Code 2 is explained. My deliverable was to produce a policy paper. What I did by way of format is to provide a matrix comparing the code from the manual and explaining each of the provisions. So that was the output. I don't normally make disclaimers. I don't know what prompted me to prepare one for this seminar, roundtable discussion. But let me just go through them. Number one, these are Al Agra's views. These are by no means, not yet, by no means the view of anyone else. Second, it has been my advocacy ever since. No one has a monopoly of knowledge. That's the reason why I am just one of their resource persons. Third, like you, I'm a student. While I'm a student, I'm also an advocate. and I'm advocating this proposed code. And being a responsible citizen, and what I have learned from my leadership in the public sector course, actually taking up my doctorate now in leadership studies at Ateneo School of Government, free advertisement for my school, is this is part of my commitment towards social accountability. I'm now outside government, now wanting and desiring to help government, particularly local governments. And lastly, these are proposals and therefore these are works in progress. The flow of my discussion will be divided into four. One, is there a need for a framework? Of course, some of you, or extreme, all of you will agree that there's no need for a framework. On the other hand, all of you might agree that there is a need for a framework. Second, that will be the first part. Second will be understanding LGUs, because I believe it is important for us to have a firm grasp of the fundamentals and policies why LGUs can do this. Third, some updates and policy trends about PPPs and LGUs. And lastly, the meat of my presentation will be about contract management. How do I intend to make my presentation, this roundtable discussion? This will be a set of questions that I will pose to everyone. This will not be graded. There's no recitation except the participation maybe after my presentation. So all of this will be bullets and you will make your choices. I've already made mine as evidenced by the submissions, and hopefully we will share in most if not all of my recommendations. So this will be choices regarding certain fundamentals and policies regarding PPPs, regarding the need for a framework, and regarding contract management. So let me begin with the first part. Is there a need for a framework? Obviously, there are two answers to this question. Yes, because having a framework will facilitate and ensure stability, consistency, integrity, transparency, and accountability. Heavy words, but I believe they are operational, can be operationalized. And at the same time, having a framework ensures good governance. And one of the reading materials from our course on leadership in the public sector, there are three obstacles to good governance: preventing corruption, clientism, and being captured by the private sector. And lastly, having a framework would avoid a piecemeal approach to PPP. In one PPP contract, you negotiate. In another PPP contract, you undergo bidding. In one PPP contract, you create a regulatory agency. In another one, you don't create one. So what the framework provides is consistency, and therefore ensures accountability on the part of the private sector and on the part of the public sector. And the other response would be, there's no need for a framework because it will just be violated anyway. Sabi nila, like most of our laws. The PPP contract, the signing of the contract, the ribbon cutting is the be-all and end-all of PPPs. Third reason, there's no need because it simply cannot be done. Or you might have some other reasons. Again, the question before us, especially for those LGUs who might venture into coming up with their own PPP Code 1 or PPP Code 2, or they might even develop a PPP Code 3, is having a framework. Obviously, my position is there is a need for a framework. Second, if there's a need for a framework, who could adopt the framework? Okay? First question, specific local governments. Iloilo, Bohol, Ormoc, South Cotabato, or any other local government. Second, it can be adopted by a province that will govern the component cities and municipalities. That is an option. The other option, NEDA can come out with the rules. PPP Center can come out with its own guidelines on contract management. Again, DILG may come out with a memorandum circular for contract management. Again, this is an option. Congress may come out with a law on PPP, including contract management. The President may issue an executive order. So all of these are possibilities. What my submission is, and what I'm proposing to everyone, is a PPP code that will be adopted by specific LGUs. That shows my bias. I'm a bias for bottom-up development. While, I'm also a fan of legislation, national legislation, it would be great to have a law in the future. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But I really believe in local autonomy and in local government, so that is the reason for this passion and advocacy. So again, let me clarify that all of these can adapt. Of course, we run the risk if all of these will adopt their own, there might be some inconsistencies. At some point, the inconsistencies might be resolved in a law. But since the elections are nearing and there are other priority bills, we might not see one by June of next year. Okay? So we've answered the need for a framework. Second, who will issue the framework? And third, what can be the form of the framework? The form of the framework will depend on who will issue the framework. Obviously, if it's enacted by Congress, then the form will be a law. If it's issued by the President or by the ILG, it will be in the form of a rule, an executive order, or a memorandum circular. If it's issued by a province or a city or municipality, then the form will be an ordinance. Or that does not preclude the mayor or the governor from issuing his or her executive order providing for the guidelines. Okay? It can be the form of a manual. It doesn't have to be a law. But let me just point out what would be the basic difference between a law, a rule, and a manual. Which would have greater enforceability in terms of having the force of law if it's not a law? Obviously, the answer to that is an ordinance or a law. Guidelines need not be followed. There's no compulsion to follow a guideline. You will not be penalized for not following the guideline. Unless, of course, you're violating a law, but not the guidelines itself. Okay? Same with the rule, because the rules are subordinate to legislation. And therefore, the reason for my proposal is to be adopted by local governments. My proposed for is an ordinance. An omnibus ordinance, and the form is a code. But again, let me just clarify, these are available options to this body. Yes. Second part is, again, what I've stressed so far is the need for a framework. Who has the power to issue this framework and in what form? Second, before getting into the meat or substance of my presentation, I'd like to explain to everyone certain concepts about local governments. Again, because the issuing authority here, per my proposal, would be local governments. What are some of the mandates of local government which is found in our Constitution, found in our statutes, and as interpreted and clarified and reinforced by our Supreme Court as well as issuances made by the Department of Interior and local government. One, as we all know, local governments enjoy local autonomy, but that doesn't mean that LGUs can do anything. LGUs cannot violate the law, and hence the reason for referring to ordinances as subordinate in character. Second, LGUs can raise revenues. Under the Constitution, there's no fixed list of sources of revenues for LGUs. They can raise revenues from sources, even from those not mentioned in the law. And this is the very heart of what we call fiscal autonomy. Under the 1991 Local Government Code, local governments are there for the general welfare, for the public good. Applicable to all public offices is the issue of public trust. PPP involves public trust. It also involves private trust. It involves the trust not just between the parties, but between the parties and the general public. And in corollary to this concept is the issue of public accountability. And obviously, as again, there are a lot of provisions in the 1991 Local Government Code referring to development. Good governance, knowing the appropriate structure, what are responsibilities of each structure. The rule of law. PPP is predicated on the rule of law. A PPP cannot be entered into in violation of the law, much in the same way that local autonomy is also limited by a law, unless of course you question the law before the Supreme Court. And at the very heart of public office, public trust, and public good would be public participation. And if you agree with this, all of the above. Again, all these policies, concepts are found either in the Constitution, in our statutes, the very advocacies of our local governments. Again, my proposal is a proposed code for local governments. Some might not be comfortable with that. Local governments, specific LGUs coming out with their own proposed code. Hence my next question. Should LGUs be trusted? Silence means yes. I'm a fan of LGUs, I'm a fan of local autonomy, so my answer to this is very obvious. LGUs can be trusted, yes, because they have the capabilities and capacities. If national officials can be trusted, why can't we trust local officials? However, they can be trusted provided there are public accountability and social accountability mechanisms, which is again embedded in our Constitution. Or you might have some other reason for trusting LGUs. However, for those who do not trust LGUs, this could be the possible reasons why they are not worthy of our trust. Only national officials can be trusted, or government cannot be trusted, or LGUs do not have the capacities and capabilities to adopt a framework and implement the framework, or you might have some other reasons. Again, it's time to reflect on these fundamental questions. I selected some of the concepts applicable to local governments as they pertain to PPPs. And again, I'd like to request for your indulgence. Allow me just to go through each of them briefly. One, local governments have dual capacities. Why is this important? What are the two capacities of LGUs? They perform governmental functions and they perform proprietary functions. Why is that important when we talk about PPPs and contract management? When LGUs enter into PPPs for water, for hospitals, etc., they are doing that in their private or proprietary capacity. But when LGUs regulate a PPP contract, when LGUs enact their own PPP codes, whether 1, 2, 3, or 4, they are doing so in the exercise of their governmental capacities. So we must appreciate the distinction between the two. When government expropriates a property, and that property will be part of the contribution of the local government to a road project, that is governmental in character, the exercise of the power to expropriate. At the same time, it is proprietary because it involves a PPP project. So mahalaga po for us to know these two capacities. Because LGUs have two capacities, LGUs are double agents in the positive sense. Okay? Doble kara na, double agent pa. But in the positive sense, double agent in what sense? They are, because LGUs are never the principals. LGUs are representatives of the people. They represent the community, the exercise of their private powers, and they represent the state in the exercise of governmental powers. So PPP should be taken seriously because this involves the very character of local governments. Can a PPP code of Bohol affect PPPs in Negros Occidental? Obviously not, because powers of LGUs are intramural, they're territorial. You know what? I'm helping now some of the municipalities and cities in Negros Occidental because hopefully in the very near future, they will come out with a PPP framework for an inter-LGU cooperation. The framework will not be adopted by a specific LGU, but will be adopted by a cluster of LGUs. We call it an inter-LGU alliance. So hopefully that will also start a trend. Like Metro Iloilo, Metro Dumaguete, Metro Naga, Metro Siargao. But in this particular case, the PPP project will be implemented not by one LGU, but by the alliance. Hopefully this will be a start of something great. What is the principle of subsidiarity? Who would be in a better position to address local concerns? Local government or national government? Local government because they're in the front line. Unless, of course, there's a law which says it should be national. Then you follow the law. Absent any law, principle of subsidiarity. Why enter into a PPP on water? Why not highways? Because it is the LGU which feels the need for water. Who develops the priority program for Iloilo? Is it national or is it Iloilo? It is Iloilo. Corporate succession. Can the governor today rescind the contract of the previous governor? Unilaterally. This happened in Tarlac. It was a deed of donation. Kasi maraming ganun eh. Contracts entered into by the previous are being cancelled by the current. Again, here lies one of the important points why PPP contract management framework needs to be developed to ensure the sanctity of a contract. As we all know, contracts cannot be impaired. If you want to impair a contract or rescind a contract, where do you go? You don't go to the ILG to have the contract revoked. You go to the courts. So corporate succession is important for PPPs. More importantly, for PPP contract management. Because what is being managed is the contract. Okay? Assuming Bohol adopts its PPP code tomorrow, or maybe next week, kasi holiday tomorrow, can the next administration, but hopefully they win their re-election, can the next administration of the provincial government change the PPP code? Yes. Again, that is important for us to appreciate because, like Congress, local governments cannot pass irrepealable laws. They can always be repealed. However, for contracts entered into under that current code, You cannot change that because existing legislation are prospective in character. They apply to future conditions, not past. Okay? Under the Local Government Code, there are two branches to the General Welfare Clause. What's the first branch? What is in the law, you adopt. In short, the first branch is cut and paste. Example, issuance of a business permit, that's in the 1991 Local Government Code. So when the local government issues a permit, that's under the first branch. What's under the second branch? There's no specific provision in the law, but a local government is empowered to issue that, undertake that action for the quote-unquote general welfare. Example, is there a provision in the Local Government Code which provides for authorizing the governor or authorizing the LGU to impose a curfew? There's none. No specific condition. Yet, that can be done. Ay ma'am, hi pala, South Cotabato. So, I was there. Actually, my first time in Mindanao was in South Cotabato 3 weeks ago. Thanks to LGSP. And first time also in Bohol. And sorry I wasn't able to go to Ormoc. My sincerest apologies. And lastly, why do LGUs have the freedom today to come out with its own PPP code for contract management? Why? Because there is no law by Congress on PPP contract management. Therefore, quote-unquote, better for us. Of course, we have to be mindful of other laws. What's a law which is not in the code but LGUs must follow? What would be the rule on government contracts? There are 3 fundamental core requirements for all government contracts: competition, accountability, and transparency. So all these policies are incorporated in any PPP code for that matter. Next, can a national government agency, if given the authority by law to review tax ordinance, change the provisions of that tax ordinance? You know what? Lahat po nitong 4 bullets in this slide are all Supreme Court decisions. These are not Al-Agra's decision. And I will never be a Supreme Court justice. Okay? 1. DOJ was given the authority to review tax ordinances. Can DOJ say, let us change section 1 to another section? Or the tax ordinance is excessive and confiscatory? Supreme Court said, no, that cannot be done because that will amount to control. Second, can the Department of Budget and Management, in the appointment of a provincial budget officer, disregard the nominee of the provincial governor? Supreme Court said, no, DBM cannot do that because there is a law which requires the nomination process. Third, can DBM impose a cap on the allowance of judges stationed in the city or municipality? And under the law, there is no cap. What DBM did was to impose a cap of 5,000 pesos. Supreme Court said no, because when there is no limitation in the law, a national government agency cannot impose a limitation. Okay? Next. And this happened in the case of DENR. DENR wanted to review ordinances of the provinces affecting the environment. The Supreme Court said, no, that cannot be done because there is no law which authorizes the DENR to review ordinances. Okay? So this is a summary of these rules. National only supervises, not controls. NGAs can only review ordinances if there is a law which authorizes that. Third, Assuming there's a law which authorizes NGAs to review, they can only declare that ordinance invalid, nothing else. They cannot say, you should have chosen the property of X, not the property of Y, because that will involve discretion. And lastly, an NGA cannot impose a limitation, cannot impose a requirement, cannot prohibit when a law does not prohibit. Why is this relevant? This may be relevant insofar as PPPs are concerned. Assuming the NLG came out with a circular saying that LGUs cannot enter into joint ventures. Example, I hope the NLG will not do that. Would that be valid? Imposing a restriction when there is none imposed by law. My submission is cannot be done. Can NEDA, our friends from NEDA, can NEDA require that all PPP contracts entered by LGUs must be reviewed by NEDA? And review means declaring it void, no effect. Again, my submission is, based on the cases that I have mentioned, that cannot be done by NEDA because that authority was not given to NEDA by law. Okay, so, thank you. Sorry. Every time I talk about PPPs and LGUs, I'm passionate, so, and it's Friday, so I'd like you to, and I have 500 more slides to go, so. Short. And this is, are you a centralist or a liberal? Ano yung centrist view of local autonomy? The centrist view of local autonomy, LGUs can only exercise those powers given to them. In effect, if you're not given the power, you cannot exercise the power. In short, cut and paste. That is the centrist view. You're beholden to the delegating authority, which is typically Congress. What is the liberal view? Of course, you can exercise those powers given to you, but you can also exercise those powers where there is no prohibition by law. Is there a prohibition for LGUs to enter into joint ventures? None. Therefore, why limit that authority when there is no limit found in the law? And there's no law now regarding joint ventures for LGUs. In fact, there is no law for joint ventures and national government or government corporations. There is no joint venture law, period. At the moment, although I think there's a proposal to have a PPP law which includes joint ventures. Yes, that's welcome. But right now, there is none. Should we wait for that law before we act? I'm not a passive student or advocate. So liberal view, no prohibition, just do it. If you're hailed to the courts, what is your defense? I'm not violating any law. What's your other defense? Local autonomy. Another defense, fiscal autonomy. Another defense, I'm the agent of the people. Another defense, public good, general welfare. Okay? Some chismis about, no, di naman chismis, because these are factual. April 3, 2012, the Department of Justice, not this representation, issued an opinion in a letter sent by the province of Camarines Sur to the DOJ, and this is the last paragraph, and allow me to read it. Dito ko na lang babasahin dahil maliit dito. Local laws or ordinances being subordinate legislation must not be inconsistent with the Constitution, local government code, and other statutes. That's given. We cannot violate the law. Again, the rule of law concept. Second, thus, local governments are free to prescribe the requirements, procedures, and conditions for local joint ventures provided no law is violated. What view is that? Centrist or liberal? Liberal view. Third sentence, at the moment, There is no law on joint ventures pertaining to local governments, and therefore we have the freedom. In the same vein, local governments may enact their own PPP code or omnibus ordinance outlining, among others, all applicable modalities. No prohibition can be done. No prohibition on JV, no prohibition on PPP. Therefore, LGUs can just do it. Thus, local governments, through legislation, meaning ordinance, can allow for unsolicited proposals in the selection of a private sector partner. A local government, through an enabling ordinance, is free to act to address local concerns even without an enabling statute, provided no statute will be infringed. What principles? Subsidiarity. Who would be in a better position to address local concerns? Local governments. And lastly, subordinate legislation. And liberal view of local authority. Okay? July 13 of 2012, Secretary, Assistant Secretary Doke of DILG issued an opinion on behalf of DILG regarding, it was a query by Pasay City. There were questions about joint ventures, procedures, etc. And I'd like to thank DILG for this paragraph. The City of Pasay may likewise adopt the rules and procedures set forth in the PPP Code 1, which I drafted, etc. And the PPP Center may be approached for assistance, financial and technical. And sorry, proudly so, to date, 7 local governments have already adopted using the template of the PPP Code 1. Let me just enumerate them. 5 provinces already: Cavite, Camarines Sur, Northern Samar, Pangasinan, Nueva Ecija. And 2 cities have already adopted the same. Of course, they have their own modified versions. Butuan City, the latest, and Olongapo City. And because of the assistance and support of LGSP-LED, we are now in the process of coming out with unique PPP codes for 3 LGUs. Why do I say unique? Because for these 3 LGUs, we're going through a workshop facilitating process to develop a PPP code which uses as reference material the proposed code which I developed. And hopefully in the near future, South Cotabato, Ormoc, and Bohol will be the next in this honor list. And hopefully South Cotabato will be the first province in Mindanao. And just by way of recognition, Davao City, with the assistance of REIT, came out with its proposed, its code. It's now a code. I think it was adopted 2-3 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. And PPP Center came out with a manual. The 3-volume manual about the framework, about projects, about going about PPPs. Again, going back to my earlier question, if we're to do a survey, I believe we will fall in the top 5 of having PPP frameworks. Actually, the Philippines is good for frameworks. The question is, how do we operationalize these frameworks? And mindful of that, I have certain provisions in the proposed PPP Code 2 because of what I have learned from my leadership course, which would allow civil society organizations to make sure that the framework will not remain a framework. Meron akong freedom of information, right of information provision in the proposed code. And I wish I would explain it. Okay? Now, the substance of my presentation. Contract management. There are several pillars for PPPs. One, and I found this in the PPP framework of Pakistan, because this captures the reason why there are PPPs. To provide for more, provide for better, provide for affordable and timely services. Nice statement. Succinct, yet very relevant. Pillars of PPPs for LGUs would be obviously local and fiscal autonomies, public good and the general welfare, development, public accountability, social accountability, good governance, and the rule of law. Ateneo School of Government is in the process of developing a program for PPPs in the social services, on health, for prisons, for classrooms. And what we're trying to develop now would be explaining, expanding some of these pillars, namely good governance and PPPs, rule of law and PPPs, social accountability and PPPs, public accountability PPPs, and meaningful public participation in PPPs. So Ateneo School of Government would like to contribute that to the PPP arena.